paint was already seeping through the glass frame when I entered my parents' living room that Saturday afternoon. My 12-year-old nephew, Caleb, was standing there clutching an empty can of bright blue acrylic paint. His face was a mixture of pride and anxiety. My medical degree, the result of 8 years of hard work, 4 years of undergraduates, 4 years of medical school, countless nights of studying, and thousands of hours of clinical training, was hanging precariously on the wall, completely ruined. My name was barely legible beneath the blue lines. What happened? I asked quietly, placing down the box of sweets I had brought. My voice was steady, even though my hands were shaking. Caleb looked at his father, my older brother Derek, who was leaning against the door frame with his arms crossed, a satisfied expression on his face. Uncle Derek said, "Doctors are just losers who think they're better than everyone else." He added, "Your degree means nothing. It's just expensive wallpaper." I turned to Derek. He shrugged, not even bothering to hide his sarcastic smile. "Come on, Jonathan, it's just a piece of paper. You can print another one for $20. Besides, Caleb's right. You're acting like you're special because you studied medicine. But you're still the same kid who couldn't make the basketball team." My mother came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands with a towel. She glanced at the torn certificate. "Derek, this is unacceptable. Jonathan went to so much trouble to get it." "Oh, please, Mom. He's a resident. He earns less than me in sales, and I didn't need 8 years of schooling. Let's be realistic, Jonathan made a bad investment. My father didn't take his eyes off his newspaper. Your brother is right. All this debt for what? You're 32 years old, and you're still living in that cramped apartment." I took out my phone and snapped several pictures. Of the damage, of Caleb still clutching the paint can, and of Derek's satisfied expression. "I have to go. I have some emails to send." "See?" Derek laughed. "You always run away. You can't even defend yourself." I didn't reply. I simply walked to my car, got in, and drove back home. That evening, I sat down at my laptop and wrote 2 carefully worded emails. The first was to Rebecca Hartley, the Human Resources Manager at St. Catherine's Medical Center. The second was to Dr. Eleanor Morrison, the chair of the hospital's board of directors. I attached the photos, provided a detailed account of the incident, and referenced the hospital's code of conduct policy regarding workplace harassment and professional ethics. Derek didn't know yet, but his sales job was at St. Catherine's Medical Center. He worked in the pharmaceutical relations department, selling medical equipment and supplies to various departments. It was a good job with excellent commission potential. He also didn't know that I had been promoted 3 months earlier from chief resident to vice chief of medicine. It hadn't been officially announced yet because I had asked for a delay. I wanted to finish my current residency without getting bogged down in the complexities of the position. Only the board of directors, the hospital director, and the department heads knew about it. Derek had spent the past 5 years boasting about his sales figures, commissions, and company car. At family gatherings, he introduced me as his little brother who's still in training. He joked about my income, my schedule, and my student loans. He had no idea that I was now one of the people who approved or rejected his sales contracts with the hospital. The following Monday, I went to work as usual. My pager rang early in the morning. There was an emergency in the ER requiring immediate attention. I spent hours in the operating room, then checked on my patients, and then attended a department meeting. Later that day, my office phone rang. Rebecca Hartley said, "Dr. Hayes, Dr. Morrison, and I have received your email. We need to discuss this. Can you come to the administration building at 4 o'clock? I will be there." The meeting lasted 30 minutes. I presented the facts calmly and professionally, outlining the sequence of events. Rebecca took detailed notes on her tablet. Dr. Morrison asked clarifying questions about the context of Derek's comments and whether there had been any previous incidents. I mentioned several family gatherings where similar remarks had been made, though none as explicit as this one. The hospital's policy was clear regarding employee behavior that could be considered harassment or creating a hostile work environment, even outside of working hours, especially if it involved other hospital staff. This policy was strengthened 2 years ago following a lawsuit concerning off-duty conduct that affected employee relations. "We will need to conduct an investigation," Rebecca said, reviewing her notes. "This is serious, especially given your position and role as a link between suppliers. There is a potential conflict of interest here, which we need to examine carefully. I understand that. I am not asking for special treatment. I am simply reporting an incident that I believe violates hospital policy." Dr. Morrison nodded. "Thank you for informing us of this through official channels. We will handle it from here." By Wednesday, Derek had been summoned to a meeting with his manager and human resources officials. He called me that evening very angry, saying, "What have I done? They are asking me about an incident that happened at my mom and dad's house. They are talking about violations of my professional conduct." I said calmly, "I have filed a formal complaint. You encouraged your son to destroy my medical certificate and made derogatory comments about my profession. I documented and reported it. Are you crazy? You're going to get me fired for a stupid joke. This was no joke, Derek. You've spent years undermining my career and treating me like I'm inferior. I'm fed up with accepting this behavior. You're such a bigot and a snob. That's exactly why nobody likes you. You can't take a joke. You can't be part of the family without making everything revolve around you and your precious feelings. I hung up. On Thursday morning, I received an email from Dr. Morrison. The hospital board had completed its review and requested that I attend a special meeting on Friday afternoon to discuss the next steps. Supervisor Derek and Rebecca Hartley would also be present. Friday arrived. I put on my best suit and entered the meeting room. Derek was already there, sitting with his immediate supervisor, a man named Scott Phillips. Rebecca sat at the head of the table with Dr. Morrison. 2 other board members attended via video conference. Derek glared at me angrily as I walked in. This is ridiculous. I'm being dragged into an investigation because my brother can't stand family jokes. Scott shifted uncomfortably. Derek, I advise you to let the Human Resources Department and the board handle this discussion. Dr. Morrison opened a file. We have reviewed the incident report, the photographic evidence, and the statements of both parties. Mr. Hayes, your contract with St. Catherine's Hospital includes a clause regarding professional conduct. The conduct described in Dr. Hayes's report constitutes a breach of this clause. Derek leaned forward. With all due respect, what I do outside of work is my own business. Jonathan is acting out of revenge because he is sensitive about his career choices. Dr. Hayes is not just an ordinary employee, Rebecca said calmly in a deliberate tone. He is the vice president of medicine. He is part of the hospital's senior leadership team. Silence fell over the room. I saw the moment Derek processed the words. His self-confidence crumbled. His face went from red with anger to the pallor of shock. Derek swallowed hard. What? Vice president? Since when? I was promoted 3 months ago, I said calmly, placing my folded hands on the table. The announcement was delayed at my request so that I could complete my current clinical training without any administrative distractions. You have been making derogatory comments about my career while I hold a senior leadership position in the same organization you work for. The same organization that approves your sales contracts and evaluates your relationships with suppliers. Scott closed his eyes. Derek, why didn't you tell me your brother works here? I didn't think it was important. He's just a resident, I thought. Derek paused. Vice Dean of the Department of Medicine. Dr. Morrison continued. The council places great importance on professional conduct, particularly when it comes to senior medical staff. Your comments about Dr. Hayes' qualifications and profession, made in front of a minor whom you encouraged to damage hospital property, demonstrate a fundamental lack of respect for the medical staff with whom you are supposed to be working. Hospital-related property? Derek asked in a weak voice. Rebecca explained. The medical certificate that was destroyed belongs to a member of our senior management team. This is a concern for the hospital, especially since your role requires you to work directly with our medical departments. Scott continued. I think we need to discuss Derek's future with the communication program if he doesn't show respect for our medical staff, including his brother. How can we trust him to maintain professional relationships with other doctors? Derek turned to me and said, Jonathan, come on. This is going too far. Caleb was just a kid. I'll pay for a replacement certificate. I'll apologize. I said calmly. You told your 12-year-old son that doctors are failures. You spent 5 years treating my career with contempt. You stood there and watched him destroy something I had gained over 8 years of work, and you smiled at it. It's not about the degree, Derek. It's about a pattern of disrespect that I can no longer tolerate. Dr. Morrison looked at the other council members on the screen. Recommendations. One of them spoke up, saying, I suggest terminating Mr. Hayes' contract with St. Catherine immediately. This behavior is not in line with our corporate values. The other council member said, I support that. Scott nodded slowly. I will support this recommendation. Derek stood up suddenly. Are you firing me because of this? Rebecca said. Your employment will be terminated for breaching the professional conduct agreement. You will receive 2 weeks' compensation, as stipulated in your contract. Your access to the building will be revoked effective 5 o'clock today. Derek looked at me desperately. Jonathan, please. I have a mortgage. Caleb is in private school. You can't do this to me. I said, I didn't do this to you, you did this to yourself. I only reported what happened. Dr. Morrison announced. The vote is unanimous. Mr. Hayes, your service at St. Catherine's Medical Center is terminated. You must return all hospital property and complete the termination paperwork with the Human Resources Department. Derek grabbed his bag and headed for the door. Then he stopped and turned to me, saying, Are you really going to ruin my career because of some childish rivalry? I said calmly, This isn't a competition, it's a result. You taught your son that disrespecting people has no price. Now he's going to learn a different lesson. After Derek left, Scott apologized profusely, saying, "If I had known about the family relationship and his attitude towards the medical staff, I would not have included him in the communication program." I told him, "It's not your fault. He's very good at presenting a professional image when it serves his interests." Dr. Morrison escorted me out of the conference hall. "I know this hasn't been easy, Dr. Hayes, but the board fully supports you. Professional respect is the foundation of everything we do here." "Thank you. I just want to focus on my work." That evening, my mother called me. She had heard from Derek what had happened. She said, "Jonathan, dear, I know your brother was wrong, but was it necessary to fire him? The whole family is upset." "Mom, he encouraged his son to sabotage my medical degree and then mocked my entire career while I stood there. What did you expect me to do? I expected you to be more mature. You know what Derek is like. He's always been a competitor. Competition does not justify cruelty. And certainly, teaching Caleb does not justify this behavior." My father called and said, "Your brother has a family to support. You seem to be making good money now. You'll be fine. Derek needs that job. He should have thought about that before he treated me like garbage for 5 years." I hung up before the conversation could continue. On Monday morning, I arrived at the hospital early. My new office had been ready for 2 weeks, but I'd been avoiding the move. Today seemed right. The nameplate on the door read, Dr. Jonathan Hayes, Vice Chair of Medicine. My assistant, Helen, had put my books on the shelves and set up the computer. My torn certificate was missing, but I'd ordered a replacement. I'll hang this in my office where it belongs. Later that morning, I held my first official meeting with the department leadership. At noon, I reviewed surgical protocols with the head of surgery. In the afternoon, I met with a family whose mother was in intensive care. My phone wouldn't stop ringing all day with texts from Derek, angry, pleading, and accusing me of being vindictive and cruel. I blocked his number. By the end of the week, the hospital had issued an official statement announcing my promotion. Congratulations poured in from colleagues, former professors, and friends from the medical school. Some were surprised that I had kept it a secret for so long. The truth is simple. I wanted to prove my worth in the position before getting bogged down in its complexities. I wanted to earn respect through my work, not just through my position. Derek thought I was still struggling, still a beginner, and still less successful than him. He built his ego on that assumption. He was wrong. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from Caleb. It was handwritten, clearly written under pressure, apologizing for ruining my diploma. There was a note at the end of the letter in a different handwriting, Derek's. "I hope you're happy. We had to withdraw Caleb from the private school." I didn't reply. I framed the letter and hung it next to my new diploma, not as a prize but as a reminder. Some people spend their lives tearing others down to feel important. Some encourage this behavior because it's easier than confronting it. And some, like me, eventually decide that tolerance doesn't mean accepting disrespect, but rather holding people accountable for their choices. Derek taught Caleb that actions have no consequences. I taught him something different. Whether Caleb learns this lesson or not is no longer my responsibility. I have patients to care for, a department I help lead, and a profession I am proud of. The painted diploma is gone, but the work I represented is still there, it is still mine, and no one can take it from me.
अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं ये जो दिन सहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा बेसर्द लगता है दिल का हर एक कोना अब बहुत ही दूर भरता है अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं ये जो दिन सुहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा सर्द लगता है दिल का हर एक कोना बहुत ही दर्द भरता है मेरे साए भी मुझसे अब जुदा होने को कहते हैं तुझे खोने की राहों में ये आंसू बहने लगते सितारों से भी पूछता है पता तेरा कहाँ होगा, मगर खामोश है दुनिया, कहाँ मेरा जहाँ होगा। बस एक बार मुड़ के देख ले मेरी बेबसी की सूरत, मुझे है आज भी तेरी वफा की सख्त जरूरत। साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर, साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर, दर्द का असर।